Yeah, well, Kennedy was talking about that, and Trump said it too, I guess in Nashville. And I mean, Gary's got to be on LinkedIn looking for jobs.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth Warren beat what's his name, Denton, which sucked, but also was kind of funny because now she gets to go, back to the Senate with no power and
Yes.
probably no allies, with other people looking at her like this is partially her fault.
Yeah. I was thinking about that today. I was just like, how does it help to have like an anti-crypto platform, like just for that to be here, like
Right?
against, like,
Yeah.
it's fine to want to protect people, but it's like, thankful that there's at least candidates who's like, okay, like let's innovate together and kind of
Yeah.
roll this.
Yeah. It's very odd. It's like it's just like you're supposed to be for the people, but you're really just holding back innovation and technology. Crypto-friendly administration. We have a crypto-friendly Senate. It looks like we're going to get a crypto-friendly House. Did you look at the stand with crypto results as well?
No, I saw people saying that we got a bunch of friendlies in, so that's good. I haven't seen that.
Paws and Claws and Marshall, welcome.
Thanks for having me on, Von Doom. It's a pleasure. Thanks everyone for coming in today. It's what a historic day. It feels like a dream last night.
It's pretty wild. It's definitely pretty wild. Yeah, it's crazy when you think about it, right? I mean, the dude. I hope that he truly follows through with the whole coalition government thing because I think it could be huge. I love the idea of burning it down a bit and building it back up better.
I'm just very excited because it's the first time in my lifetime. I'm 40 years old. I've never seen anything like this ever happen before. For the past 20 plus years, we've had Democrat leaders, which is fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. But it definitely started to feel a little one-sided, right? And for those of us in the crypto space, these past 4 years have been, we have held together as a community, but it has been a bit of a nightmare, hasn't it?
Yeah,
right?
it's been brutal. It's been brutal. We were called criminals just for owning an asset many times.
Right. And I think that, it started to trend, I think, in the right direction. And then there was this big collapse with FTX. And, there were a lot of players that were, saying one thing and doing the complete opposite thing. So it really kind of hurt us in that sense. But at the same time, there's no excuse that the US falls behind Europe and they have their MiCA and, other countries start to get their regulation. Why is it not happening here? We're the king of software, Silicon Valley. It's crazy to me.
We originated this stuff.
And then it turns out that maybe some people in that party legitimately did want to crush crypto, right? You have Elizabeth Warren saying, I'm creating an anti-crypto army. I would argue on, not argue, but I would, make some comment on X and people say she's not against it. And I'm like, she literally made a campaign that said, I'm building an anti-crypto army. I don't know.
Well, she literally gave Gary Gensler the questions before the hearing that she was going to ask and asked if they were okay to ask him.
Kind of reminds me of Kamala getting her teleprompter, right? Like questions before the debate.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many like categorically wild errors that happen there, right? And it just shows like the tone deafness of the leadership in that party. I'm going to bring it back a second because we welcome everybody. Welcome. I mean, really, probably talk about the election a little bit more because it's kind of like going to be the topic for a while. Was anybody surprised about how quickly we knew, especially considering like the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 elections?
I was not surprised that this was the outcome because I think that things had gotten so crazy. Last night feels like a dream, but it's actually like the past 4 years that really felt like the dream. And then all of a sudden common sense took over. But I think that people were very nervous that it might not happen because there was a lot of funny business going on, a lot of weird things, like the debates that seemed one-sided and things like that. I mean, you'd be kidding yourself if you didn't think that the establishment, so-called establishment media, let's say the media establishment, had really made it one-sided against the other party, which I think is not right and very unfair.
Yeah, I mean, you see what was the post about, like the amount of positive coverage versus negative coverage per candidate, and Harris on everything but like Fox and then the non-traditional, non-mainstream medias. I think her positive rating was like 93%, and Trump's negative rating was 90% or something. I mean, I did notice it turning in the last week, especially. Did you see that? And this was on CNN. It was pretty widely shared. But Harris was running ads in Michigan aimed at the Muslim population there, and they were pro-Palestine ads. And then she was running ads aimed at the Jewish population in Pennsylvania, and they were pro-Israel ads. So she's literally running 2 different messages that say conflicting things to each other, right, in 2 different states at 2 different pieces of American population. So it's kind of. And I almost think the wilder thing is that CNN was the one that called her out on it, and it wasn't like just on X or on Fox or on somewhere else. You know what I mean? Did you guys catch that or no?
Weird,
right?
I think Elon Musk, we got to give this guy a shout out because he didn't have to buy Twitter and turn it into the platform that we're on now, and it really changed the game. People are talking about how it changed the course of history, but I do really think that after this platform had Elon as an owner, it definitely shifted in terms of freedom of speech and censorship, and I think we're starting to realize that the news is not really impartial at all. And that was the big takeaway from this election, I think, is that the news has really been trying to shape the narrative. And I had stopped watching it a long time ago, but now it's great to have X because I don't really even look back. You can kind of source everything, and then you got community notes to check, which is great.
It definitely feels like it's been a reckoning, right? Where I mean, you look at the numbers of people that actually watch like CNN and MSNBC. They don't even get a combined 2 million viewers. I mean, last night I'm sure they did because of what was going on. But it's just interesting that it's like who really watches that now, right? And it's probably primarily boomers, really.
Yeah, and I think even people on the left side too are starting. I saw a lot of comments the other night, like on Reddit was particularly interesting, where people said, "Are we out of touch over here? Are we in a little bit of a bubble?" And not like Reddit the company, but
No,
a lot of
just in
communities on
threads.
Reddit.
Yeah, totally. No, I honestly I had a text message conversation with one of my family members back east, and they were very upset, and I'm like, I think it's gonna be fine. I'm like,
It's going to be just fine. It's going to be better than fine. It's
yeah,
going to be great.
Well, I don't want to be over enthusiastic with them because it'll offend them. You know what I mean? But like, it's just,
That's right.
but at the same time, it's like, look, like, and then she asked me like, do I live in a bubble? I'm like, well, you're in New York, and you may be in a bubble, but that's okay. Because you're asking the question now.
That's the key is kind of realizing, and I've always said that crypto is a litmus test for freedom. And so when you have leaders trying to crush crypto, right? When Putin banned crypto, when Xi banned crypto, it tends to roll with very brutal dictators, right? Or not brutal, but I mean, I guess brutal in a way, right? Dictators, and then you have, look at Argentina, and you have like a revival, you have a resurgence. Where now all of a sudden, younger leaders are coming out, and they really are kind of going the opposite way. They're not trying to be that. And I think crypto is a litmus test for freedom. And as we were moving into a very anti-crypto regulatory administration, what was happening? Something was brewing in our space. And I think one of the most amazing parts of crypto is how our community, our global community, comes together and how powerful it is. Because before people would say, "Oh, crypto," because I go way back in crypto when I'd go to a meetup in San Francisco and there were like 5 people there, and nobody knew what Bitcoin was. But now it's a force to be reckoned with, right? It could actually influence presidential elections.
I think it has to a point. I don't think it's the sole reason why it shifted in this direction, but I definitely think it's it's all part of the narrative, right? When you look at the numbers, it just has to be. Ben's here.
Just seamlessly to Marshall and Metallicus. Just complete segue, like you'd never realize we'd changed guest. But I know that you've also got to go, Marshall, at the top of the hour. So how are you doing? How's things? What's going on?
Hey, Benjamin. Hey, Von. Thanks for having me on again. We're so over at Metallicus. A little background about us for those that don't know. We're a digital asset banking platform. We started in 2016, so we've been around. Me, myself, I've been in the crypto space for about 15 years now, so I go all the way back to December of 2009 when I first discovered crypto. So I'm an OG. It's funny you mentioned Magic Eden. I know the CTO over there. He's also an OG from the early San Francisco Bitcoin days. Yeah, he's a Bitcoin OG guy. We are behind the MetalPay platform, so that's like a crypto trading and payments app launched in the US in 2018, fully licensed, live in 48 states. Kind of like the original crypto Venmo. And what we're building in Metallicus, we call it TDBN, the digital banking network. For a lot of people in crypto, you probably know it's hard to get a bank account. And if let's say you're building a company, building NFTs or anything, Magic Eden, it's very, very hard to get a corporate bank account.
Yeah, no, it really is. There's so many things to fill out. Do you think that's going to change now because they're talking about getting rid of, Operation Choke Point was one of the things that he said he'd get rid of on day one.
Well, I think I think that it's a slower moving thing, right? Because so the bank regulators don't necessarily come in and out with the new president. Some roles are appointed, but some have been there for 20 years or whatever. And so there has I go back to the early days of crypto when there was this ethos of down with the banks. And I was probably the odd bird at that time, 10 plus years ago, where I was saying, actually, the banks are going to be like Blockbuster Video. They're going to become Netflix. They're going to evolve like a butterfly, right?
They have to. They have to. The ones that don't are going to go out of business. Because and I'm sure you agree here, it's like, what person would look at the Bitcoin chart and not want a piece of that action?
Well, they all do. That's the reality. But they just are kind of, so some banks are more risk averse than others. Some are interested. There just hasn't been the regulatory guidance, right? That's and so we have like Mika and
it to us.
We haven't gotten it, right? And so without that, there's no way the banks are going full swing. But look at JP Morgan. They've got their JP Morgan Onyx blockchain. A lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes. Bank of America holds more blockchain patents than any company in the world, right? So not a lot of people know that. Anyways, what we're building at Metallicus is we solve this problem. And, right now, the way that it works is you have to go through an intermediary, right? So you might send sell your NFT on OpenSea or wherever, and then you want to move some USDC to, Coinbase or MetalPay or Kraken or something like that. There's an intermediary. Our vision is in the future, there will be a network of credit unions and banks globally that are just connected into the blockchain. So you just deposit that stablecoin right into your checking account. Boom. You want to withdraw it onto the blockchain? Easy. So part of the friction of there's this wall between banking and traditional payments and finance and crypto, which is narrowing, but we still have all these delays. Like if I wanted to get, some Bitcoin into my bank account into cash, I have to wait a few days, right? But imagine in the future if all of that was instantaneous and
it's the dream, making it seamless. So you're doing
that's
that
right.
both for consumers and for businesses?
Yeah, that's right. So if you go to metalpay.com,
I'm going to DM you just as a sidebar.
Please do. Yeah, if anyone's trying to and is listening to the show today, if you're building a business, or even if you're just like a solo artist, for example, doing NFTs, and you want to add credit and debit cards and traditional payments for digital assets like NFTs,
just as an off ramp.
Yeah, that's us. So you go to metalpay.com. We just launched. Thanks. Yeah, we just launched our new product called MetalPay Connect, so you can find that on metalpay.com.
How did I not know about this?
We're kind of under the radar. We're kind of like a Mighty Mouse. We're about to come out
glad you're here. I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, is this real? This is crazy. That's awesome. All right, cool. That's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, and the past has really kind of been two ways. You've got like the Coinbases, the MetalPays, the Krakens, the Robinhoods, and then you've also got like MoonPays and things like in the wallets. So our version is most of those things in the wallets are like card only. If you've noticed that, right? Like it's like cards only, and we have cards. We have a great success rate, by the way. A lot of those platforms, if you sometimes use them, they don't go through, and the payment fails. We're close to 90% success rate, where some of the ones are like half. So that's one of our secret sauces. But
wait, roll that back. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so sometimes when you use like apps inside of like if you're using a ramp, I won't name them because I don't want to start enemies. But
sure,
you know what I'm talking about.
I'll fill in the blank.
Yeah, go into like MetaMask and hit buy or something.
Sure.
So most of those options, a lot of times they will fail. So you'll add your card to go through, and it'll say payment declined. And it happens more often than not. I go all the way back to 2016 when we were starting Metallicus, and there were some of these companies. Simplex was one of the early ones, and I know the CEO. And we were talking about like the decline rates. Flash forward all these years, they have improved somewhat, but not so much. At Metallicus, we've really gotten to understand, how banks work, how these payments work, flow between traditional payment systems, and we fine-tuned it. So, when you come through our platform, the rate of failure is very low, very, very low, as opposed to some of the other competitors. And that was one of the things that we were working on. But beyond just the card payments, our future vision is that you'd be able to go to, for example, metalblockchain.org, which is our part of our what we call TDBN, and choose from all these credit unions. Right now, there's about like 16 of them on the site. Credit unions are global, by the way, so they're all over the world. And you'd be able to choose from this network of credit unions. You could open a corporate bank account, you could open a consumer bank account, and then you could connect it to MetalPay Connect. And now you don't have to use a card. It could come right out of your checking account, even larger amounts. Also, Metallicus, one of the cool things, we're on the forefront of this stuff. We just got designated the only certified FedNow service provider, which is very cool. So we're the only service provider doing FedNow and digital assets. And we haven't launched that live yet, but we're just very excited about that.
You guys are just in a position to just clean up at this point too, with the stuff that you've already built, with the implementations that you already have, and with the licenses you already have acquired. I mean, you're definitely in like the catbird seat, as I would say.
Thanks. Yeah, for us, we really, my vision from the very beginning is I was like very early in crypto, so I saw how in the early days you could only trade this with people P2P. There was a day in the early days of Bitcoin before there were even altcoins, and I'm talking like 2012, 2011. You'd have to go onto IRC or local Bitcoins. I think local Bitcoins came out maybe 2012. You go on these sites and you meet some stranger, maybe even in person.
I remember reading about it.
So we've come all the way to now where you have PayPal and Venmo, but it's still a hop between your bank. And as much as Venmo is cool and everything, it's never going to beat your Amex, your Apple Card, right? Your traditional services that you probably use. So our vision is really, connecting these banks in the future. You go to the MetalPay Connect. It's not just cards, but you can choose from some of these credit unions and banks and FedNow and other options. Hopefully when we turn that on. That's the idea is that in the future everything's going to be on chain. And that was the bet we made over 2 years ago when we started building this. And man, it's really come true with Coinbase Base and Kraken Inc. We've got Metal L2. The rise of the super chain. I think the volume on Base might even be exceeding Coinbase's actual volume.
Yeah, the volume on Base.
Yeah, I heard that the other day.
So that's the future,
and the number of active wallets as well, which I think is always a really good indicator. Like, is huge now, absolutely massive.
Yeah, so we want to. We're the company connecting the the bank directly to the chain. Why even have some sort of intermediary or delays? I just want to, when I have some stable coins and I need to pay some bills, I want to just deposit it right into my checking account. Unfortunately, until TDBN, you couldn't do that, and we're hoping to launch that sometime early next year.
Brilliant.
I'm conscious you've only got a few minutes left. I want to ask a question, which I guess is a little bit more about like what it is that you are prioritizing at the moment. Like, given what's just happened in the last 24 hours, and given the kind of the what's the word, the infrastructure that you've already built around your product and the infrastructure that is now starting to come to the fore in the space. Like, what are your priorities in the coming, I don't know, maybe 3-6 months? And like, how are you trying to, onboard people to find out more about what you're doing to come work with you in whatever capacity?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I predicted that I knew that this was going to happen. I knew that this contentious election, there's a high probability, especially when you see like Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, giving thumbs up. Yeah. It's like, okay, this is happening. Those are kind of came in the later hours, but we anticipated that this is a high probability. And so we wanted to be prepared for what I call the rise of the on-chain, right? So in the future, everything's going to actually be using the blockchains. Right now, people are more speculating on them and using centralized platforms. right? And in the future, everything's going to start to be on chain. You're going to start to make payments on chain. You won't even know it. Digital identity will be hashed and recorded to chain without, of course, hopefully exposing your private information. But in the future, that's great because I don't want to give out my social security number. I just want to, be at Marshall and you send me a request and I sign.
That's the ZK
right?
stuff, right? When you get to that layer of like just instant or the zero knowledge proof stuff, right?
Exactly. And so we just really planned for the rise of, blockchain actually being used now, because now I think the clarity is going to start to come from a regulatory perspective. And what does that mean? Now, all of a sudden, you're going to see the rise of credit unions, banks, traditional financial institutions directly integrating the blockchains, not just some sort of speculation on the asset, but now you could actually, your credit union, your bank could talk to the blockchain. And that's what we're planning for.
Jesus, the possibilities there are so exciting. That's crazy. I didn't even think about it at that level where you get, because there's like a humongous regional credit union network in the U.S.
There's 5,000 in the U.S. and they actually have a little thing that a lot of people don't know is they've had global real-time payment systems for a long time.
Oh yeah, it's the same. It's the same stuff that Chase or Silicon Valley Bank has. It's all the same tooling, right? That they have for pushing money around. And then you could, are you going to look at taking it like one step above, in a sense, the credit unions to like the regional banks as well?
Yeah, so we're not limited to
that would be like the next play in my mind.
Yeah, so one of the things we found, so yes, the answer to that is yes. We started, with this idea of, okay, let's go talk to banks, credit unions, and we found, so we're talking to both, and
Nice.
that is true. But the banking world is moving slower than the credit union world because for many reasons. One, it's a different ethos. Credit unions are not for profit, and so they really align with this vision of blockchain.
And it's much less, it's much lighter on the decision making side, right? It's usually like one or two people, or there's a small board of individuals that run it, and they can make a quick decision.
That's right. And also, they're really focused on giving back to their community. So you'll notice the credit unions are like in your town. They're, based around the police and fire. They're based around different communities.
Yeah, unions, students, all that stuff.
Exactly. So it's all about serving the people, which I love. And that's, why I got into blockchain, was to bring the power of money back to the people. So, they're the early adopters. I think as we, and hopefully in this administration, I think we're going to start to see real policy come together, real conversations, instead of this brick wall of, we're not going to talk about this and we're just going to aggressively pursue
this unknown black box where we don't know if we're breaking rules or not. We think we're okay and we've asked for help and they won't help us, and then all of a sudden they sue you.
Right, exactly. And I don't think that's the case with all the regulators, but it just, in a certain administration, that's what happens. And now I think it's if you look at the party that just got elected, you got Elon in there, which makes me feel so good about the technology side in the future and the policy around that. I mean, RFK on the health, everything in general seems really great. But when it comes to crypto, I think there's going to be a renaissance. In 2016, I was living in SF. And I remember, as Trump was going against Hillary, that I thought, man, if he wins, this could be very good for the digital asset space. And at that time, Trump wasn't even really a bull around crypto. He just was kind of like a freedom-focused guy, which I knew aligned with the early ethos.
Yeah, with the ethos, right?
Correct.
It started with. It's like that's like the early '90s ethos of the internet in general.
That's right. Yeah, and there's some sort of cyberpunk, and I guess in a big way, I come from that. But I'm also a realist in the sense that when people said, "Oh, the banks are going away," it's like, yeah, right. Like the oldest business in the world is going away. No, that absolutely won't happen. What will happen is it will be like the change of like VHS and DVD to. I saw this clip on X where a Blockbuster employee is like, I had a bad day today because I thought maybe in the future I won't have a job here because people just watch movies on the internet. That's what's going to happen to banking, right? It's going to connect to the blockchain. All of a sudden, we used to call people on the phone. You pay like a long distance fee. Now nobody does that because everything is Zoom and X calling and WhatsApp and whatever.
They also stopped charging for it because of all the competition that came in. So that's a big part of it.
So imagine that happening with money, digital assets. It's going to be an absolute renaissance. And if you were around for 2017, and this might kind of go a little bit further back for some people, so they don't know about 2017. But it's almost like every 3 years it kind of aligned with the Bitcoin halving. But 2014 was a big year. 2011, nobody knew what crypto was. It was like me and a few nerds in SF, and little pockets around the world where people are just experimenting. 2014 was very exciting. That was where I met a lot of the early crypto OG people. That was the beginning of Dogecoin. That's how I met my co-founder. He built the first Dogecoin wallet. I'm a big Dogecoin guy, by the way. I work directly with the team, and I sit on the Dogecoin Foundation board. Yeah, so I'm a Doge OG, I guess you could say, and I love Dogecoin. I think meme coins are cool. I think every meme coin just wants to become more than a token and become like a real project, and that's the power of memes.
Well, it's the communities that are built around them. Yeah, it makes total sense. I'm interested in seeing how quickly like Coinbase starts listing. We talked about this the other day. Like all of a sudden Mog gets listed and Pepe gets, what I mean? Like I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I don't think it'll matter. I don't think it'll matter in the future. It's all going to be on chain. It's going to be on Aerodrome, and they're just going to make a job proposal and it's going to go through. So, what happened is, I saw something the other day where Brian said, well, we don't charge listing fees. And then a bunch of high-powered players came in and said, oh, you do? I have an email where you asked me for that or whatever. I'm not saying he does or he doesn't. I don't know. I've never seen any evidence of it. But the fact is that it's a gatekeeper. And, if you wanted to get on, if you're an asset and you want to get on one of these exchanges and you're part of that team, it's very, very difficult. And some of them, you've heard, there's millions of dollars access fee, or you can't even get in unless you know someone. And I think in the future, it's a much more democratic process because everything's on chain. It's also going to be the rise of DAOs. And, for me, that is one of the most futuristic, exciting things. I don't know if you've ever read the book or seen the movie Ender's Game, but it's about a little kid who becomes basically a military general because in the future, Yeah, because it's the internet, right? So the
Right,
internet is
right,
like,
right.
you know, doesn't see age or sex or race or anything. And I think that's really like crypto in a big way. I think we're going to see the rise of DAOs, and in the future, you won't really have to worry about these things because it will be completely merit based and no longer how much money you have and who you know. It will be how cool you are and how much you can make waves, and that has nothing to do with those other gatekeepers. And that's going to be, I think, 2025 is going to be the best year we've ever seen in crypto, and I've been here since the very beginning. So
I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
yeah, freak out.
Yeah.
Don't go crazy. You know,
Let's
go
go.
slowly into it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I think
yeah,
it is
yeah.
going to be a renaissance next year. I really do.
No, I agree. I agree. Marshall,
Love
great
the
to
word
meet you, man.
renaissance.
I want to have you back, and I already sent you
Likewise, thank you.
because
For sure.
I want an account. Yeah,
Mm.
look, we'll get you back, and it's great to meet you.
For sure.
I'm literally shocked that I never heard of this until right now. So I'm so glad you came up today. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thanks,
Download
Marshall.
the Metal Pay app. We also have
Yeah.
a mobile wallet called WebOff. Check it out. And
So-
yeah, thanks again for having me.
I'm going to do that as soon as we're
Feel
done.
free to pin. Yeah, feel free to pin anything,
yeah,
Marshall, to the top
definitely.
if you want, or have any of your team do it. That's
Do it.
account.
Thank you, guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, very,
Let's
very
reset and
quickly,
then let's talk about Paws, All City.
let's do that. So reset. Episode.
Hope you enjoyed this event, and we want to catch you in another one very soon, and we'll see you then. Bye for now.